Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Happy Top Shelf Tuesday. I'm Jay Zawoski with Greg Boyson and Mario Teräväinen. I got to change my YouTube photo. It's very business-like.
Very professional.
Yeah, we can't have that professionalism here.
That's like from the 4 months of my life where I had a job where I had to dress like an adult.
That
was short-lived.
LinkedIn written all over it.
Thank God that's over. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you're with us on the YouTube page, make sure you smash that like button. If you're listening on the audio podcast, make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, Podomatic,
Podcastmachine.org.
Podmachine.org is the one I invented last week. Whatever it is, hit that subscribe button on all the CHGO Blackhawks podcasts. And, of course, those 5-star Apple reviews. I saw some people left us some 5-star reviews yesterday.
Nice.
So thank you for doing that. That's very, very helpful. We've got to fix the people that were mad when the show switched over. We gotta gain some momentum back.
I would like to
All right.
Imagine that a lot of those people that were so when it switch are now like, oh, okay, I'm cool with this. Like,
Yeah,
I
this is
listen
cool.
every day.
Yeah.
I know for a fact there's a few that have come back and been like, yeah, I was kind of a douche and I shouldn't have said those things.
It
but,
was a lot. It was a lot to take in a
I
very
get it.
short amount of time. And yes.
Well, look, you hopped on the ride, and here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good example of what's to come.
So today for Top Shelf Tuesday, as we if you were with us yesterday, and we hope you were, we ended the show and said, we'll be back Tuesday, and we're going to talk about, we're not sure yet. So we had a little meeting via Slack this morning, and here's what we're going to do today. Blackhawks prospects we were wrong and right about over the course of our fandom. That's kind of fun, right? We can look back at some fun names from the past and say, boy, I really thought that this guy was going to be great or this guy was going to suck, and I was wrong. So that's going to be fun. We got a little bit of news, though, this morning. I think you've got the tweet open, Mario, from Nick Olcek.
Yeah.
We knew Nick was not going to be back with the Blackhawks. That was pretty clear. But today made it official with a little statement
He
on
just
Twitter.
did a little goodbye here from Nick Olcek. It says, to the city of Chicago, the Chicago Blackhawks, Chicago media members, and the incredible Blackhawks fans, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your love, support, and compassion over the years. Chicago will always be my home, heart emoji. On to the next step in the journey, microphone emoji. And it's a picture of him looking dapper, as always. You see it on the screen here.
There's no picture of him where he doesn't look dapper.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Absolutely. So, I think you can kind of put a couple puzzle pieces together to kind of figure out where Nick's next
just look up the Seattle
next adventure might be.
Seattle Kraken employee directory. Scroll down to
go
the
to
O
O.
section. You'll see like 4 or 5 Ulceks, and he's like the only one that is not employed there. So if there was a where does Nick Olcek land next bet on the PointsBet app, I guarantee you the Seattle Kraken would be the overwhelming favorite.
Very high odds on that one.
But in all seriousness, best of luck to Nick. Great guy. He is a rising star in the broadcasting business. There's no doubt about that. Great. I can call him a kid because he's way younger than I am. And seriously, though, like when Mario, the first day you and I went to a Hawks practice after the CHGO launch, he was the first guy to come over to us and welcome us onto the beat. And he's always been accessible. And the kid puts in the work. He's not leaning on the fact that he's Ed Olczek's kid. He went down and was behind the scenes at TNT during the Stanley Cup playoffs, cutting highlights and doing the production work, 15, 16-hour days for the entire Stanley Cup run.
He did production for NBC Chicago.
Yep.
He was doing broadcasting for the Indy Fuel and the ECHL. He is definitely
putting in his work.
A lot of hours, a lot of work in some not so glamorous positions. And he's earned a lot. He's earned a lot in the broadcasting world, and I think wherever his next venture lands him, I think he's going to knock it out of the park. So it's good luck to him. Always appreciated the conversations that we had, and hope to have some more down the road.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to be great at whatever he does. An easy guy to cheer for and be happy for his success, and hopefully, if he does end up with the Kraken or somewhere in the NHL, we can have him on the show to kind of preview whatever team he's working for.
Sure.
I'm sure
Why
he'll
not?
do it.
That would be great. And I think there was some speculation that part of why, well, maybe not why Eddie chose to not come back to Chicago, but I think there was a desire for Eddie and Nick to have, maybe for Nick to have a more permanent role with the Hawks than he was being offered, and that may have played a role as well. Eddie is the kind of guy, and this is just, I don't want to go in and say this is like 100% confirmed, but I've heard this from a few places that Eddie was sort of hoping that there'd be more for Nick here, considering the work he's put in, considering how good of a job he does, considering Eddie's position with the team. And the Hawks, frankly, like just don't have a full-time spot for him. They do now, but they didn't,
Yeah.
And I think that may have played a little bit of a role too. So who knows? But look, I'm happy for Nick. Like you guys said, couldn't have been nicer. Couldn't have been more welcoming. Did everything he could to come in and make us all feel welcome. And when the Eddie O stuff went down, reached out and said, hey, hope everything's good with you guys. It sucks this happened. It's just he's been great, and I hope whatever happens for him is something that he can be well established in for a long time, right?
Yeah.
A job he can keep for a while, and that man, if he lands at the Kraken, that is one hell of a broadcast team.
They have a great broadcast
Yeah, it
team.
already is. I mean, you got
Forsland,
and
John
Olcek.
Forsland,
And
Olcek,
and
JT
JT
Brown.
I'm not the biggest
Yeah.
Forsland guy on play-by-play.
I think he's pretty
It's
good.
just a taste thing.
Yeah.
He's not my favorite.
But
He's
I think
good.
Him and Olcek together, they'll be
They'll be really
yeah,
good.
they'll-
That's almost like a national broadcast.
pretty much. I mean, they'll probably be missing. I wonder who their JV broadcast. Maybe that's where Nick slides in, because both of those guys are going to be missing some Kraken games
true,
along
right.
the way, because they both do national games.
Right.
So maybe they get they slide Nick in and don't tell anybody it's Nick, and then half of Seattle won't even know that they'll think it's Eddie, because
They'll put him on the screen. Oh, it's Nick.
I remember the first time I heard Nick on the radio, and I'm like, is Eddie on the radio?
I thought somebody was doing an Eddie impression.
It is uncanny.
It is.
And not just like in the tone of their voice, but the inflection, the way they speak, even like the words they use.
Yeah.
It's so similar. It's almost weird. It's almost creepy how close they are in the way they speak. Like,
Yeah.
I'm around my parents a lot, but I don't speak like my parents. Eddie and Nick broadcast almost identically,
Yeah.
which says a lot for how good Nick is at such a young age.
Oh, yeah.
Because Eddie
Absolutely.
is, everyone agrees, the best analyst in the business. And for Nick to be able to fool people for a while into thinking he's his father is great. So
Yeah.
whatever happens, Nick, we're happy for you. And stay in touch with us, man, because we loved being around you for the short time we were. And I'm sure it's going to be the Kraken. I'm sure it's going to be great. It just is another reminder of we still don't know who the Hawks are going to have, and the season starts relatively soon.
Yeah.
Might want to figure this out
2 months.
quickly.
Yeah. Though I have no reason to doubt that they won't find someone. They won't have some decent plan of filling the shoes of Eddie Olcek. But speaking of which, happy birthday to Eddie Olcek.
It is Eddie's birthday.
56 today. Yeah, I have no doubt that they're gonna find someone that will be a decent replacement, whether it's the rumored Patrick Sharp or a split of Patrick Sharp and Troy Murray. I just hope they don't go with a carousel of people.
Get somebody for 2 games.
One or two people is fine. One person ideally would be great. But I have faith that they'll figure it out with someone that people will be able to enjoy their abilities.
Splitting the booth between Sharp and Murray then causes chaos in 2 booths.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how
Yeah.
important or how popular the radio broadcast is these days.
I mean,
I know it's what goes on the streaming services, and I mean, I love the radio broadcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of the age where I remember I only were able to listen to half the games on the radio, and it became, that's how you knew what the Hawks were doing, by listening on the radio when they were at home. So just pick a guy or a woman. Pick a person
Whoever.
for
Yeah.
82 games and stick with it, and let it work organically between the new colored person and Chris Foster's. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't care who it is. It's short notice. You're probably not going to be able to get the supposed cream of the crop or the best analyst out there because just the timing of everything. But just pick somebody for 82 games.
In an ideal world, I would like to see Vosters with whoever they hire as the color guy, and Colby Cohen between the glass, Kaylee Chelios in studio with Charlie and Pat. That's it. That's how it should be. Every game it can be that, right?
That would be fine. I would be fine with that.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Maybe tweak that studio a little bit, but that's my personal preference.
Let's let the mind wander on that one. I got some stories. Anyway, Charlie, we love you.
Yes, Charlie, you're cool.
Big, great
Smile
guy.
and wave.
All right, let's get into our Top Shelf Tuesday topic, shall we? All
Yeah.
right, prospects we were right and or wrong about.
Hey, that Korchinski guy. I think he's going to be a
So
bust.
I'm going to start because mine is very bad. I've talked about this before. In the 2002 NHL draft with the first-round pick, 21st overall, the Blackhawks selected Russian defenseman Anton Babchuk. Okay?
Yeah.
Next year, in the second round, in the 54th overall pick, the Blackhawks selected Michigan State defenseman Duncan Keith. I was very convinced that Anton Babchuk was like the next Darian Hatcher, was the next whatever great defenseman with a booming shot from the point, and all those things that you hear about in the scouting reports. And it's funny, like when you watch draft coverage, like this guy really compares to Wayne Gretzky because he's a good passer. Like Babchuk was, oh my God, that draft pick, it was so oversold. It was so oversold, like they all are. But I was a true believer in Anton Babchuk. And then I saw Duncan Keith, and I'm like, this little dude is going to play defense in the NHL. He's tiny. He's a pimple farmer. Look at this kid. He's wee. There's nothing to him.
I was wrong about Duncan Keith. Like those first two seasons, like this guy can't play in the NHL.
Yeah. And we heard, and again, like the overselling of prospects, you heard about like the unmatched oxygen capacity of Duncan Keith and all these things, and you kind of chuckled those away, but it turned out to be true that dude could log 30 minutes a night with very little issue. But that, to me, that is my biggest, I would argue with my friend Wendy about the two of them specifically. And I'd say, I will take Anton Babchuk's career over Duncan Keith's 10 times out of 10.
Hey,
There's no way Keith is going to be better.
Let it play out.
Second round pick. So Babchuk, for the record, 289 games, 36 goals, 71 assists, 107 points. Duncan Keith, 1,256 games, 106 assists, 106 goals, 540 assists. So Keith had a slightly better career.
3 Stanley Cups, 2 Norris trophies.
Yeah.
Conn Smythe.
I was a little wrong about
The
that
results
one.
were slightly better for Duncan Keith.
By the way, I made a typo. That was the same exact draft.
Yes, 2002.
Yeah.
2002.
Actually, a pretty decent draft considering the Hawks. When you scroll through the Hawks draft history, drafting like garbage, it was not exclusive to he who shall not be named. Like you go through some of these drafts and you're like, none of these guys ever amounted to anything. Like complete waste of draft class. 2002, that was Mike Smith. You mentioned Babchuk, Duncan Keith, second round,
Hall of Famer.
pretty good. But you look deeper down, you had James Wisniewski in the 5th round, who turned out to be a decent player. He was a contributor for the Hawks, played over 500 NHL games. 9th round, they don't even have a 9th round anymore. But you got Adam Burge, who was a contributor to that first team. And then 4th round, you drafted a center named Matt Ellison, who may have only played 43 NHL games, but he's an important guy in Blackhawks history because that is who we fleeced the Philadelphia Flyers for Patrick Sharp.
Wasn't that 1 for 1?
about that?
1 for 1. Matt Allison straight up for Patrick Sharp. Yikes.
Oh boy, that is
Flyers history could have been a lot different.
that could be like there's a lot of one-sided trades in NHL history, but I wonder if you could like analytically go back and look and say what is the most lopsided trade in history. That might be.
That's got to be a big one, as
It's up
far as
there.
total games played.
Yeah.
Impact, That's got to be one of the whoever's good with graphs and charts out there.
It ain't me.
Do that Matt Ellison, Patrick Sharp trade.
Let's get a heat map up on
give us
Twitter so I can look at the pretty colors.
Give us stuff with colors and
I want to see colors and not know what the heck
stuff.
I'm looking at, but at least entertain me with colors.
Patrick Sharp, 620 points in 939 games.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a pretty good. Maybe I'll do
Decent.
some
3 Stanley
research
Cups.
one of these days to see some of those worst, best lopsided trades. I mean, in Blackhawks
least in
history, that's got to
Blackhawks,
be the
yeah.
most lopsided.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
favorable. There were a few that went the other way that were pretty.
Yeah, like
lousy.
people are still mad about Panarin for Saad, but at least Saad came and was good. Like he was Brandon Saad.
did
Right.
what
It
he
wasn't
was supposed to
lopsided.
do.
It was
Yeah.
uneven. It wasn't lopsided.
Right.
But when you look at it though, it didn't work out that great for the Blue Jackets either. Yeah, they won the playoff series against Tampa with Panarin, but then he left and they got nothing for him. So they had 2 good
Yeah.
years of Panarin and then nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
So that pretty much evened out at the end of it. That neither team really got what they wanted.
Yeah, I don't know. I think as far as the lopsidedness, I think the contributions Panarin would have brought to the Blackhawks at that point in time probably would have outweighed what Brandon Saad
Oh, no doubt.
did. But again, that was the offseason between being swept by the Predators and then being hot garbage in 2017-18. So even with Panarin, what did they do? Did they make the
Right.
playoffs and get bounced in the first round again?
That was the summer the rebuild should have began.
Exactly.
But here we are.
We got a note from Brandon Sikora in the chat here, just to jump back on the broadcast thing. Chris Chelios said on the score that if the Hawks asked Chelios, he'd fill in the booth. I've heard him say that too, but
If they asked.
they have
So
to ask him.
They have to ask him.
And he's got an ESPN contract.
he's
that might have
he's like
something-
one of the studio figures for ESPN. So
right.
Right.
I don't think they need somebody
They-
who's also got national duties.
Yeah, I mean that was
Well,
Well, they did it
obviously
with Eddie.
right, but
Yeah, but
That
he
might
was
have-
well established as the Blackhawks
Yeah.
broadcaster.
They-
Chelios would be coming in new, basically.
and he doesn't have a lot of booth experience. Like Eddie can command the, hey, I'm going to miss 20 games,
Right.
and you're like, that's fine. Chelios, once a week will be gone.
Yeah.
I don't know about Chelios as a color commentator. In a booth, in a studio, he's great. He was great on ESPN with
Yeah.
Messier and Levy. But
Just not enough
as a
of him
color
there.
commentator, I don't know. Never really seen him do it either. So
Yeah, I don't recall him ever being in a booth for a full game outside of a Cubs game after a few beers before the 7th inning stretch.
Does that count?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's just willing to listen, but we've not seen
Right.
that
I mean,
name
I
surface.
too will also fill in.
yeah, if the Blackhawks ask
I'd
me,
be happy to do
hey,
it.
Chelios and I are in the same shoes. If the Blackhawks called and said, "Will you
I'd
do
be
it?" I
happy to
too
fill
will
in.
take that job.
I
Yeah.
did one Ice Hogs game, and it was an experience.
Not bad. We're listening to EJ Raddick do it during the World Juniors, and it's not as
easy.
easy as people think.
It's not easy to no.
It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's not. That's like the time I've spent in the AHL, and when you're in the AHL press box, you essentially sit right next to the broadcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Joey Z do Ice Hogs games is incredible because he's essentially by himself, except when he has guest color analysis like Mario for a game. I think I was actually there that day.
That was the Anton Forsberg, or not Anton Forsberg, Kevin Lankinen record-setting 55 save overtime win. I still have the box score.
I
from
do.
that one.
Yeah, I do remember
fun
that
one.
one. But like, just watching
Yeah, it was
Joey
pretty wild.
pretty much on his own.
Yeah,
do
he's
it. No one in his ear telling him what's going on. He basically has to call the AHL people on the phone to make sure it works for the streaming broadcast. Like he literally sets it all up himself, and then calls an amazing game. Knows everybody, knows the names. Just amazing to watch. It is not easy.
those
to
minor
broadcast.
league broadcasters, whether it's AHL hockey or AA baseball or what have you, like that is a lot more work than just showing up and calling the game. And,
Oh, yeah.
No, it's
ask any of them. It's basically 3 jobs in one.
yes.
And
So after
Joey
broadcasting,
Z is
had to-
fantastic.
He would have to go downstairs and do post game,
the
get
interviews.
those clips on YouTube, write the post game article for the website, and then
get ready for the next game
and
next
then,
day.
and then get on a bus for 6 hours to be at the next game in the morning. Yeah,
Do,
pretty
to
crazy.
do The Iowa Wild game.
Yeah.
All right, what are your? I already confessed my big misses. What do you guys got?
I've got a couple of big misses. I'm gonna go. Probably my biggest, the one that I really thought was gonna turn into something, was the 2006 second round, first of 2 second-round picks. After they took Jonathan Toews third, they took second-generation Russian player Igor Makarov, whose dad, Sergei, 1990 Calder Cup trophy winner with the Calgary Flames, had a couple of really big seasons early on in his career and then kind of faded out. But I was like, man, the pedigree's there. This kid can score. Never played in the NHL. Played 1 season with Rockford, 2010, 2011. Only had 24 points, but I still thought he was going to be something. And even when you look at his KHL, he's played. He played in the KHL.
He played a lot in the KHL.
From 2011 up until 2020, but only scored double-digit goals once. So even there, he wasn't a difference maker.
Speaking of the Toews draft, aside from Jonathan Toews,
that draft was terrible.
One
garbage
NHL
draft.
game played.
Yeah. And
Igor Makarov, Simon Dani Pippin, Tony Lagerstrom, Ben Shutron, Joe Palmer, Jan Mikhail Jutelainen, Chris Auger, and Peter LeBlanc, who played 1 NHL game. That's it.
Well, look at the following
garbage
year,
draft.
the Kane year. They only had 10 games from the rest of that draft class too.
3 from Billy Sweat and
Dale
Akeem
Talon
Alou.
gets the credit for drafting Toews and Kane, but he had an 11 combined NHL games from the rest of those 2 draft classes.
The 2008 entry draft, Kyle Beach, 0 NHL games. Reasons we know.
Lots of reasons.
Yeah.
Sean Lalonde played 1. Ben Smith is the only player.
Yeah.
237 games. Remember, all these people that love Dale Talon, go look. Go look. It's not as great as you think it is. Yes, you knock it out of the park with Kane and Toews. It's number 3 and number 1 overall.
Right. And you got a little fortunate that the Blues and the Penguins both passed on Jonathan Toews.
So in the course of 06,
Jack
07
Skilly was his number 1 pick in 2005.
Yes.
Yuck. Cam Barker drafted 3rd overall in 2004. Yuck.
If you take Kane and Toews
They had so
out
many
of
people in that
06,
04
07, and
class.
08 combined, you have 12 NHL games played by the other picks made in those drafts.
In 07 and 08.
06, 07, 08.
07, 08.
12 NHL games
In
played
3 years.
in 3 years when you take away Toews and Kane.
That's not
Yeah.
good.
That's horrible.
And
That's
I mean,
almost
again,
impossible.
Horrible, but you drafted
you had
2 Hall of Famers.
right, you had you got your franchise
Yeah.
guys back to back.
But those are the easy picks to make.
Absolutely. Agreed. I mean, but let's not completely crap on Dale Talon because
Stanley Cups.
was 05 was or 04
Erase a
was
lot
that was Talon's first draft.
04.
Yeah.
Yeah, 04 was, I mean,
04 was
Outside
good.
of swinging and missing on
was-
Cam Barker.
That was the B draft.
Because 04 was Ovechkin, Malkin 1 and 2, and then Cam Barker 3.
Quite the drop
But
off.
he still got Dave Bolin and Brian Bickel in the second round. And then Troy Brouwer was taken in the 7th round, who turned out to be pretty good. So there was some. Jake Dahl was a guy I was high on that was taken in that draft, too. I thought he was going to be that gritty 4th-line guy. Was a really good AHL guy.
Played some NHL games.
17 picks made in that draft, by the way.
Yeah.
But
That's
that
kinda
was the B
crazy.
year.
a lot
Barker,
of darts
Bolin,
to throw.
Bickel, Birdie, Brouwer, and where was Blunden? Was Blunden the year before that?
It might have been the year after.
It was the year after that. Yeah, Michael Blunden. Man, you know who else I liked?
Michael Blunden was playing for the Lightning up until a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he played a little bit. 127 games. One guy I thought from that 04 draft was going to be good, Petri Contiola. Played 12 games with the Hawks, had 5 assists. Looked decent.
It's a good ratio.
It's not really. That's not bad for a 7th-round pick, and then he just.
Another Finnish guy.
See ya.
I love the Finns. I love the Finns. I can't.
I'm going to get you a Finland jersey for
I have
Christmas. I'm going to get you another
course
one.
he
You want to
does.
bet the name on the back?
Is it Rutu?
It is.
Okay.
It is a
Perfect.
T. Rutu
there
because
you
there
go.
was a J. Rutu that I would not wear.
Jeffrey Rutu?
Johnny Rutu.
Johnny Rutu, my friends.
No, you may remember his Pudwackian brother, Jarkko.
I do, yes.
Yes.
I do, yes.
Canucks legend, Jarkko Rutu.
Pudwackian.
Hey, want to remind everybody, by the way, the best way to support us here at CHGO, download the PointsBet app and use the code CHGO when you sign up. Do it now and you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. And with that $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership that gets you access to all of our great web content, our Discord page, and, of course, the sweet shirts from the CHGO locker. Pick one out. We've got the Dylan Cease design on our page now. We got to make a new shirt for the fan who taught Tony La Russa how to manage
Random guy
who's like, hey, you might want a pinch runner here, Gramps.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, we need a shirt for that guy.
Somehow that team is going to sneak into the playoffs again. It's ridiculous.
Of course they are.
Maybe we talked about relegation yesterday. Maybe we should just relegate the AAL Central. That whole division is bad.
I'm down with that. So $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free shirt from the CHGO locker for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. And remember to use that promo code right over Mario's head, CHGO, when you sign up. It's your home for live in-play betting, and it's going to get better with the NFL season fast approaching. We are with only 3 preseason games. Thank God. Man, that 4th preseason game was such a slog.
Yeah.
Bet along with the game as it's going on. New bets pop up all the time. Bet overs, bet unders, bet totals, total yards, interceptions, coin toss, whatever you want to bet, it's there on PointsBet. So what are you waiting for? Elevate your live betting game once the game starts. Don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services.
If you want to bet, there is a bet for you on PointsBet.
Definitely is.
Want to tell us about Athletic Greens?
Sure. Yeah.
When you want to bet on your own
My wife was drinking hers yesterday, and she said, new pro tip with Athletic Greens, mix a little juice in there and use a whisk to stir it. Perfect.
There you go.
So there you go, pro tip.
Yeah, I mix mine with some juice as well, just a personal preference. My wife likes it over ice.
Okay.
Little fun tip there. Yeah, Athletic Greens. If you want to bet on yourself and bet on your immune system and your gut health and boosting your natural energy, getting yourself some AG1 from Athletic Greens is the right way to go. AG1 is a formula designed to boost that gut health, boost that natural energy, and boost your immune system, because with AG1, in just one scoop of it, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens, and that will help you start your day right. And if you have different dietary restrictions, whether it's gluten-free or dairy-free, or if you eat keto or paleo or vegan or any of the other dietary food paths out there, with AG1, you're good to go. It's easy to incorporate into your life. It's a small once-a-day habit with big benefits. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it even easier, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is go to athleticgreens.com/CHGO Blackhawks to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional assurance. Again, athleticgreens.com/CHGO Blackhawks.
We have Tom made the point, like, who did we miss out by taking some of these players? Well, that 05 draft where we took Jack Skilly, could have had Anze Kopitar there, Devin Setaguchi, Tuukka Rask, TJ Oshie, James Neal. The bigger one that hurts the most is that second-round pick where they took Mike Blundin or Blundin, depending on what region you're from. The very next pick, 44th overall, Paul Stastny, went to the Colorado Avalanche. So you could have had that guy in the second round.
Kopitar and Stastny in the same draft would have been very interesting.
Yeah, might have changed. You might not have.
It might have changed the Taves draft.
Yeah, you might not have gone for Taves. Or imagine having those 3 guys as your top 3.
Or there's your 1, 2, 3. And
yeah, I mean that whole we need to find
Stanley Cups.
The whole we need to find a second line center behind Jonathan Taves narrative never would have existed.
No.
And then that 04 draft where they took Cam Barker 3rd overall. Andrew Ladd went 4th overall, who we ended up
eventually got here
because Teuvo root tube turned into Andrew Ladd. Blake Wheeler was there.
Would have been nice.
Here's a funny. Remember Rusty Ozles of the Panthers? He went 7th overall. So at one point, the Hawks had 3 of the top 7 picks of that draft.
God, you're right.
Yeah, that 04 draft wasn't great after Ovechkin and Malkin. Not a whole lot there. Corey Schneider went late. Mike Green was a late first-round pick.
Alex Radulov was in that draft. Here's a guy who was supposed to be great. Kyle Chipchura.
Oh, yes.
Remember him? That was like, any year now, he's going to become that great power forward everyone expects him to be, and just never happened.
Kind of glad he didn't, because I can never figure out how to correctly spell his name on the first try. So I'm okay with that.
Don't have to worry about that now.
I want to pat myself on the back here and tell a recent story of a prospect I got kind of sort of right, at least for a year.
Okay.
I had it right. And then things didn't work out so well. But heading into the 2019, or the COVID 56 game year. What was that, 2020, 21? Yeah.
That was a 21 season.
21 season, yeah. Heading into that, when the Blackhawks had 3 goalies, Malcolm Subban, Colin Delia, and Kevin Lankinen.
Yep.
And it was, who's going to be the starter? Malcolm Subban, Colin Delia. Delia, Subban. And I went on record as saying, don't be surprised, 20 games into the season, Kevin Lankinen is your starter, because I think he's the best out of all 3 of those guys. And I don't want to say I'm some sort of, like, great hockey experts goalie scout. I think that was kind of obvious. I'd seen Malcolm Subban, not great. I've seen Colin Delia's inconsistent play at the AHL level, and Kevin Lankinen was coming off a fantastic all-star season.
A really good season.
With the Ice Hogs, so I just thought technically he was the best goalie of the 3, and he turned to prove me right, and then it all fell apart last year.
Yeah.
But not necessarily his fault.
Not necessarily his fault, no. But, I mean, yeah, I thought Lankinen, once he took hold of the starting job 2 seasons ago, I thought he was really going to emerge as like, oh, maybe he can be an NHL starter, and doesn't seem that's going to turn out that way. One person that is being brought up in the chat here is Mark McNeill.
Yeah.
Yuck.
First round pick in 2011.
Jack Skilly's twin.
Yeah, I thought Mark McNeill was going to be really good. Part of why I thought Mark McNeill was going to be really good is because when you would play the NHL video games, I remember playing like NHL like 2012 and 2013, and very quickly Mark McNeill became like an 85 overall and was like my second line center. I'm like, all right, if the video game knows, then let's see what he can do. And he never reached that level.
I liked Mark McNeill until I saw him skate. I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. This guy can't skate. And there was another name.
Isn't there rumors of Pudwactum with Mark McNeill, too?
There are many rumors of Pudwactum with Mark McNeill.
We
can just leave it at that.
Yes. We need to have a members-only Patreon Pudwactum series of shows where we can tell these stories.
The Pudwactum podcast. Coming to podmachine.org.
The podcast.
The podcast.
It writes itself.
The podcast.
There you go.
On whackcast.com.
You know what? It could be a Top Shelf Tuesdays one of these days. Is
the podcast.
The podcast. And we just go through people that are puds in the world of hockey.
But yeah, Jack Skilly was another guy.
We'll just get a scroll like Chris Jericho.
We're gonna need to clear off the entire CHGO schedule because we're gonna need like 9 hours to just scratch the surface.
It'll be a marathon episode. Yeah.
Yeah, our draft coverage will have nothing on the podcast.
It'll be a 25-part series.
Yes.
There you go.
Coming soon. Another guy that was mentioned earlier that had issues that I really wanted to be good, but then once I saw him play in person, I was kind of like, yeah. Dylan Olsen, defenseman Dylan Olsen was another guy they were high on. Was he a first-round pick?
First round, 28th overall.
First-round pick in 2009. Yeah, that one wasn't a great draft either. You got Marcus Kruger.
Dylan Olsen, Brandon Peary, Daniel DeLeese, Byron Fraze, Marcus Kruger, David Pecan, Paul Phillips, and David Gilbert.
Yeah.
Not the best. Marcus Kruger.
But yeah,
not
Kruger.
the best.
Dylan Olsen, I thought I wanted him to be that like offensive-minded defenseman.
Yeah.
but he just could not play in his own end. But he turned out okay because he was traded to.
He became.
Was it the Christopher Stieg trade with the Panthers? I believe
Stieg came from the Maple Leafs.
No, we traded him to the Maple Leafs, I thought, for Victor Stahlberg.
Versteeg was traded.
When we got him back, I thought it was Dylan.
The second time?
When we got him back, yeah.
I want to say have to look at that trade.
I want to say it was Olsen and somebody to
Let's
the
see.
Panthers for Christopher Stieg.
I'm looking.
Was Olsen still around in the 2015 season?
Hawks got him originally from the Bruins.
Right.
Okay, Bruins.
Then he was traded to the Leafs. It's not giving me any details here, though, on Cap Friendly.
Let's
don't know.
see here. Stand by.
Flyers to Panthers, and then traded from Florida. Here we go. Let's see. All right, here we go. Okay.
Florida
Hang on.
to Chicago.
Sorry. Oh, was this a three-way trade?
I want to say the Sharks might
No.
have been involved in that.
Okay, it was Jimmy Hayes and Dylan Olsen for Christopher Stieg
Yes.
and Philippe Lefebvre.
Yes, Jimmy Hayes
There you are.
and Dylan Olsen. Yeah, two guys that we had a lot of high expectations for.
Yeah.
Jimmy Olsen was one of those guys that was
Jimmy Hayes.
Jimmy Hayes, yeah, or Jimmy Olsen. Wasn't he the photographer for
Superman, yes. Yes, he was.
Jimmy Hayes was, one of those guys that you just thought was going to be that power forward and just never had whatever. And, we've learned a lot about him since that might have contributed factors. You could say the same thing, like now that we know in hindsight, always 2020, about Brian Bickel, how that contributed to a disappointing.
Well, and even you look at
a quick downturn. Yeah.
Yeah.
you look at even like Kyle Beach and
Right.
Akeem Alou,
Right.
who seemed like, well, these guys are going to be power
These
forward
guys are
studs.
bust.
And
I was so excited for the Kyle Beach
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I was like, man, this guy's just going to get out. He's going to be like the modern day Eric Lindros. He's just going to get out and score goals and beat people's ass.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, this guy's a bust, a complete bust. And then you learn what was going on and you're like, well, okay.
right.
Yeah, not necessarily on ice issues that were factors for.
Same thing with Akeem Alou,
Right,
who was a high draft
exactly.
pick as well. I think one of the picks, we could talk about happier moments. One of the picks I know we all wanted to succeed here and we're high on was Teuvo Teräväinen. He was
I think a lot of people universally saw him as like, hey, he's a player. He's going to be good.
Fortunately, Joe Quenneville was not one of those guys.
Yeah, really. Man.
And we had
Speaking of Bickel.
we had to get rid of
Yeah.
Teräväinen to the Bickel. Man, that just not happened like a year later, you might have been able. Just the timing of all that. Again, hindsight, you can't change what it was. You just saw a player that wasn't living up to expectations. You were up against the cap. Carolina knew it, and Carolina put he who should not be named over a barrel. And
Well, maybe if you trade with more than like two teams.
well, that too.
This still chaps
Arizona,
my ass because you're telling
Carolina.
me you couldn't find any way to move Brian Bickel without moving Teuvo Teräväinen to any of the 30 other teams in the league at the time. No one would take less than Teuvo freaking Teräväinen. That is horrible. Horrible. You find a way to make that deal and keep him. That's what we talk about when he who shall not be named had no vision beyond the season that was happening at the time.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe this is a guy we want around for the next 10 years. I don't know. And it should be reminded, too, like, there were a lot of Hawks fans that were down on Teuvo because he didn't come in and, like, become a point-per-game guy right away. There was a learning curve. There was development. There was all those things and adapting to a new country
Right.
and all that stuff. And you also factor in a Joel Quenneville thing.
Wanted to make him a bottom six guy playing 7 minutes a night. I mean, that's square peg, round hole.
But with Lucas Rykel, not that they're the same kind of player, but the trajectory could be similar, right? Where you're the first couple of years, you're not like, maybe he's not what we thought he was. It takes time, especially for these European kids to come over and make a difference. Teuvo coming from Finland, which is a much more accomplished hockey country than Germany is, where Rykel's
At the
coming
time,
from.
yeah.
Yeah. So, it's just another reminder to have some patience with prospects. What are your big misses, Mario? I know you're.
Well, I just want to say the Teräväinen and Rykel comparison. I've really thought about that a lot too, and I really hope that this front office also sees that and says, hey, like, let's take some time. Let's see, let's see how things pan out. And having Rykel play the majority of last season in Rockford, I think was a good idea. Teräväinen, I think, played half a season in Rockford, plus a couple extra games, and before making the jump to the NHL. And right when he did, he wasn't like, hey, jump off the page, here you go, ready to go. He started to make a name for himself in that 2015 playoff run, and then the next season after that, started to look like, hey, like we might have a kid here that's going to develop into something. So I think Rykel, the way he plays, his body style, his background, I think a lot of it looks a lot like what Teuvo had coming into the league. So I hope the Blackhawks plan of taking some patience with Rykel is in motion. Obviously, we saw it last year. I think now is the year where, and we talked about this last week. Now I think this season is the year where it's like, okay, he can play the majority of the year or all of the year in the NHL and take that next step. And then hopefully in the next season after this upcoming season, we see a legit top 6 NHL forward, young guy who's like got the right trajectory going.
Shandles in the chat says he honestly feels like the Bickel trade was the worst of the he who shall not be named tenure. There's a lot of them, but that is the one that really stings the most.
It's in the team photo, that's for sure. As far as the worst, one's bad.
I think
the Phil Deneau.
I think Philip Deneau is worse.
The worst, just because. Yeah. You literally got nothing for that. I understand the Bickel was cap related. You needed the cap space.
So the Deneau trade wasn't.
It was a deadline deal to get two
cap
stiffs.
space. It was
absolute stiffs in Thomas Fleischman and Dale Weiss.
Because
two bums.
Q needed his veteran presence.
And both of those guys were. Fleischman was fine.
Was decent.
Weiss awful.
Yeah,
awful.
It was a waste, and it was choosing a battered Marcus Kruger over a younger version of Marcus Kruger. And a player who in Phil now a player in Phil Deneau who's much higher of a ceiling than Marcus Kruger ever had. So
I would rank the Deneau
That's probably the
deal
worst
worse than the Bickel deal, but it's a photo finish.
Yeah, it's real bad. Jay, you asked me about people that I've missed on. I'm gonna go with a more recent draft. I'm gonna go with
because you're like 16.
Thank you. I'm gonna go
one you were alive for
with the 2017 draft.
It's not a good
I
one.
fell in love with 4th round pick Tim Soderlund, and I liked his game. He was an undersized forward, but played a two-way game. Energy guy, made a name for himself at the World Juniors, I think in 2018, I want to say, with Sweden. Was getting a lot of comparisons to Victor Arvidsson at the time, who I think is one of the more underrated players in the NHL. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, if he could be Victor Arvidsson, that'd be great. I would love to have a player like that come out of the 4th round for the Blackhawks. And didn't turn out that way. No. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he was part of the Duncan Keith trade. Was he not?
I believe you are correct.
I think he was a minor part of the Duncan Keith trade.
To Sweden.
I don't think he played for the Oilers.
He played 7 games for the Bakersfield Condors in 21-22.
And then
Wichita Thunder, the ECHL.
To Sweden.
And then Djurgårdens
in Sweden. Yeah.
Yep.
So
he had a couple of he had flashes in Rockford.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to figure it out.
He was a good skater. He had some speed. He was that energy guy.
Yeah.
That guy would go out there and hit somebody. Yeah, I thought he had a shot at an NHL future as well.
And it didn't turn out that way. So that was one player that I was really thought was going to be something. Turned out to be nothing. Another one is I thought Chad Chris was going to be someone too. He was a 2nd round pick in 2016, and he was I think cut from 2 Team USA camps for the World Juniors, so he was like on the cusp of being a Team USA World Juniors player, but never played at that level for that team. Was also cut with Alex DeBrincat. So I thought, hey, Alex DeBrincat turned into something. Maybe that team
they got drafted 6 picks apart together in the same draft.
Thought maybe that team didn't know what they were doing, but yeah, I thought Chad Chris was really going to be something.
Yeah,
never turned the corner as that offensive defenseman.
And he was always hurt, which is a problem.
Yeah, injuries did
you're a hockey player
derail
and
him.
Can't stay on the ice. You're not going to go far.
Yeah, and he turned into Curtis Gabriel.
Yes,
who's a great person. Not really going to play with the Blackhawks ever.
Is he still a free agent?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It's like Calvin Hahn. Come on, sign somewhere so we can get you on.
Phil Kessel.
Right. Yeah.
Someone mentioned Graham Nott. I was hoping we were not going to talk about
not
it.
to mention that again.
He was our second round pick in 2015, but the first pick for the Hawks. That was one of the drafts they didn't have. Don't remember why we didn't have a pick that draft. Was that the
in 15?
Yeah, was that?
That was the Vermette trade.
That's right. It was
right?
Yeah, you are correct.
Yeah.
Graham Nott was that. Another guy who I was like, oh, he's got some size. Maybe he'll be something. And then saw him skate and was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, he was.
That whole skating thing's an issue.
He had size. He had size, but he was like. I don't like to use this term for people who play professional hockey, and I do not. But he just was soft. Like he was a big kid.
Yeah.
Kind of hunchy, and just wasn't physical. And I don't know. Yeah. I thought he was I thought he may have something there, but yeah, like you said, when you start to watch him play more and more and you're like, yeah, not a second round pick.
Well, you want to talk about a garbage draft. 2015. You're coming off winning the
Real
Stanley Cup.
bad.
Only 25 games of NHL experience in that draft, and
all of them
came from Dennis Gilbert.
Yeah.
Not all those 25 games were with the Hawks. I think he played a few with Colorado. After it's Graham Nott, Dennis Gilbert, Ryan Shea, Radovan Bondra, Roy Radke, Yoni Tuola, and John Dahlstrom. Tuola, I thought, had a shot. He was decent with the Ice Hogs.
He had a decent showing with Rockford.
But not an NHL skate. Again, not a skater. Schnugerrood is mentioned. Luke Schnugerrood is a guy who I thought had
concussion.
His is more of, was it Michael Lambus that ended his lights out?
Sounds right.
It was either Michael Lambus or Cody McLeod. One of those two.
One of those AHL ruffians, yeah.
One of those two knuckle draggers ended his career with a shoulder to the skull. I like Luke Schnugerrood. That's a big hockey family up in.
He was starting
Minnesota.
to come. He was starting to come up too. He was starting to get healthy. He was starting to come up, and then
in Europe now, but
concussion.
Just he's from Eden Prairie, Wisconsin, or Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Which also produced Nick Leddy. I thought he was going to be a Nick Leddy type defenseman.
Cousin Jimmy Snuggerud was a top draft.
Yeah,
pick.
the Snuggeroods are big in Minnesota. I think they're both of their dads. Dave Snuggerud played in the NHL briefly.
Yeah.
They're a big high school hockey family up there. So I thought
big in Sheboygan.
Yes, I like that with Johnsonville Brats. I thought Snuggerud was going to be like a Nick Leddy type of guy.
Yeah.
And just might have been, but that's a guy that wasn't necessarily his performance, just the fact that some giant Neanderthal tried to kill him.
Yeah. We got a $2 super chat from Brandon. He says, check out the Steve Dangle, Andrew Shaw trade tree. We will do that. It's pretty interesting. All those trade trees are really cool.
Yeah.
The Shaw trade worked
those
out
get pretty
decently.
in depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Shaw trade eventually turned into Kevin Krasinski because Alex DeBrincat was one of those picks we got from Montreal.
Was DeBrincat and Chris both of those picks? Because it was 2 second rounds for Shaw, right?
Was it Chris or was it the Kamenov trade?
Oh yeah, you're right.
I think
Arthur
Chris
Kayumov.
At 45 was the Hawks' own pick, and then it was sandwiched in between.
Kayumov was the other one. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, someone mentioned goalies. The Hawks don't have a good goalie track record in the draft.
No, not since Corey Crawford.
Right. There was a guy we talked about his draft class earlier. I thought was gonna first-round pick Adam Monroe.
There's a name.
Drafted after Teemu Ruutu in that 01 draft. I was like, yeah, this guy might be something. And they took another goalie in that same draft. Craig Anderson was taken in the third round.
That worked out.
Well, not so much for the Hawks, but it worked out for Craig.
Yeah, he was good.
Craig Anderson was
him
a
and
good...
Leighton were like a tandem for the Hawks for a while.
Yep.
That was one of the ones I was right about. I not that Michael Leighton was ever like a world beater, but he was a good goalie for a long time, and he kind of had, when it was Anderson and Leighton splitting time for that Hawks team, I thought he was the better of the two. I was wrong about that. Leighton was, I would say, like Leighton had a better short term, where Anderson had a better long term. Like I think
Still playing.
I think Leighton's ceiling was higher.
Yeah.
Just for that, but it was a really brief time. And then Anderson was obviously, better overall.
Michael Leighton led in the overtime winner in Game 6 of 2010.
Thank you, Michael Leighton. We salute you for that.
And then set the AHL career wins record with the Ice Hogs.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Long time
You pick
consistent
one.
guy.
Which one would you rather have?
Yeah. Well, there's two guys I want to mention here. One just for the picture. First is defenseman Steve McCarthy, who I thought was going to be an absolute stud defenseman. 1999, 23rd overall pick. Wore number 5. Good-looking kid. Good talker. But from what I could figure out, a bit of a head case. Just couldn't get the NHL life. Not that he was. I don't want to mislead people. It wasn't like a drinking problem it was just it was a bit overwhelming for him, and he never really took that next step in his career. The other one, 2000, 11th overall pick, the very handsome Pavel Varrichev.
Before there was Patrick Sharp, there was Pavel Varrichev.
There was one Pavel Varrichev and one eyebrow from Pavel Varrichev. It is brutal. That's
not even a Russian hockey player.
That looks like a headband. Like it goes all the way around his head. Like it doesn't stop anywhere.
If you're watching on YouTube, we're very, very sorry. But here, I went back and looked at this.
This is a team photo.
He looks like the live version of Boris from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
So Pavel Varrichev, 11th overall pick, played. Where'd it go? I lost my thing here. Sorry. He played, 57 NHL games and had 25 points. That is not a horrible output. Played for the Hawks in 03-04, 4 points in 18 games. Next 2 seasons in Norfolk, put up decent numbers. Then next season, 39 games with the Hawks, 21 points. Then went back to Russia. And that was it. Your 11th overall pick. And he, a bit of a power forward, kind of a tweener, a bit like Daze-esque. He wasn't real physical by any means, but had better numbers in the NHL than I expected. But I think he just was like, screw this. I don't want to be part of this thing. I'm going back to Russia. And had a long career and finally ended his career in 2017-18 in the EIHL for the Edinburgh Capitals.
That's England.
England.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Played in the KHL until 2013-14.
Colby played in the EIHL, and I want to ask him about that experience one day. What was it like playing in England, playing ice hockey, which I can't imagine that is...
It's like having tea in your Gatorade bottle.
Yeah, right? Some Earl Grey instead of BioSteel.
Probably like playing soccer in America.
Hey, we got the CHGO Fire guys here. We can ask them about that.
Back to our buddy Pavel there. You know who he looks like? Remember that Simpsons Halloween episode where Hugo was in the attic?
Yes.
It was in the attic. It was Bart's evil twin.
Yes.
He looks like the Hugo version of Alex Ovechkin. If Alex Ovechkin had an evil twin locked in somebody's attic for 20 years, that's who it is.
Yes.
Accurate.
He's Hugo Ovechkin.
That is accurate.
That's good.
All right, well, that was a fun Top Shelf Tuesday show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, yeah, sorry.
For a second.
I got a last thing, too. Go ahead.
Okay, all right.
John Hayden was supposed to be an NHL star.
Man,
God,
you talk about
looked like he
I thought he was going to be a stud.
Oh, he's got the hair and the look and the
Yep.
That guy looked like a bona fide superstar.
That was an NHL player. That was if you built a guy on NHL for be a pro, it would be John Hayden, and just so disappointing.
Power forward guy, physical, big, looked like Michael Kopech, had some flow. Like,
Where is he now?
I
You
really-
know?
Hayden is,
AHL
last I knew,
somewhere.
he was with the Devils. Is he still with the Devils?
He was on the Sabres last year for 55 games. He is a Kraken.
Yeah, there you go.
See, everybody's going to Seattle.
Everybody's going to
these days.
Seattle.
35 points in 240 games. That is almost unreal. When you look at he just like you said, looks the part of a hockey player.
Did he
He's got
play
all
for
the
Team
physical
USA?
tools. Not decent skater. I just think he doesn't have hands. I mean, not literally. He has hands.
hands.
But I
He
just
has
think
hands and he uses them to punch.
They just don't work well.
Yeah.
He's the Jim Abbott of hockey players.
I'm so.
Was he on the, like,
But did you see the one-armed kid hit a home run in Little League?
no.
I saw a video
What?
it passed on TikTok this morning.
I saw
This
that on
kid's-
TikTok,
He's
too.
a right-hander. You can't tell that his right hand. Wait, no.
Left
Yeah,
hand?
I'm
Right hand?
lefty, so it's hard for me to think that way. So yeah, he does not have a right hand, but
So he
he's
just
batting one hand and just
backhanded?
one-handedly crushes a
Wow.
bomb. It was
For him.
awesome.
That's
I'll see if I can find it. It was very
incredible.
cool.
That's awesome.
Anyway, you want to after John Hayden? Anybody else we got to mention?
Oh, I was going to do a quick little thing. Out of the last 3 drafts, so 22, 21, 20, who's one player that, let's say, not Lucas Rykel, not Frank Nazar and the like, who's one player that you're going to put your name on and say, this guy makes it?
Oh, I like this. Can I use this year's draft?
Yes.
Samuel Savoie.
That's your guy.
That's my
That's
guy.
your guy.
That is your guy.
That's my guy. He would look when you go to development camp. You notice some people, and there's some you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I looked up, Samuel Savoie was doing something and being noticeable. So that's
Yeah.
my guy.
There you go. Okay.
I'm going to stick with my guy that I've fawned over before. Isaac Phillips, 5th rounder in 2020. I
There you
think
go.
he's going to be pretty good. Though that 2021 draft class might turn out to be decent.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the 2021 class. And I'm going to go with the very last pick the Blackhawks made, Jalen Lipin.
Yeah, that was going to
I
be
think
my other guy. Yeah.
I think they got a player there. I mean, how many 7th round picks the year after they're drafted signed their ELC?
I mean, how
Not
many
a lot.
7th round picks sign ELCs? Period.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
I think the
who-
Blackhawks
exactly.
really have a
Who would've thought
player with
the last
Lipin.
draft pick, he who shall not be named, ever made, might be one of his best.
Might be one of his better
Considering where it was made and what you might get out
one
of
of
it.
his better
Yeah.
finds. Yeah. So yeah, I think they got a player with Lipin. We'll see what happens.
That last draft class might not be terrible because you got Lipin, you've got Del Mastro, who we've talked about.
Del
Colton
Mastro,
might be
Doc,
something.
Allen, Lipin, Schoenborg,
Sternberg, yeah. Connor Kelly is
Connor
a
Kelly.
guy
Yeah,
to
he was
watch.
with the Team USA camp again.
Tage Harding, another.
He's a project, but
yes,
yeah,
but that
that's
might not
that
be the
class has a lot
worst.
of potential. It's crazy to think that the last
he
entire
finally
draft
starts
class
to get it outside of that first
he
round
gets.
pick.
It's like, oh, he figured it out. Oh yeah,
Well,
bye.
no, see, the issue is though, even if he figured out how to draft guys, he still has no clue how to develop it. It's like
True.
going to the store, being able to buy the ingredients to make the world's greatest shepherd's pie, and then just making crap,
That's
not
true.
knowing how to cook it and mixing those ingredients.
Yeah, that's what matters. All right, before we wrap up, PointsBet Sportsbook is counting down the days until football season with a new offer every day until the season kicks off. From now until September 8th, PointsBet Power Hour will unlock a new
Oh, yeah.
daily offer from noon to 1 p.m. Central.
Love that power hour.
Yeah, it's great. Right while we're on the air. Or right when we're off the air, rather. Noon to 1 p.m. Central.
when we're off.
Sign up for PointsBet now using the code CHGO to also get risk-free bets up to $2,000. Don't miss out on your chance to get daily access to free bets, boosted odds, and so much more now through September 8th. Download the PointsBet app today and use code CHGO to take advantage of this limited time offer. Don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this Top Shelf Tuesday. We appreciated it. Chuckle Mucko says Pavel Varrichev has an interesting Wikipedia page. I will be checking that out after
Oh.
the show today.
Well,
Go check that out as well.
we will check that out.
I will check it out, yeah. All right, join us tomorrow at 11 a.m. right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. Thanks to Sarah for producing the show today. For Mario and Greg, I'm Jay. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.